California has hit its electric vehicle target well ahead of schedule. The skeptics said this wouldn't happen, but it has. However, it's not the first place in the world to do so, and it won't be the last. Hello my friends, welcome to the channel. I'm the Electric Viking. Great to see you. I've mentioned many times on the channel how electrification is happening much faster than the skeptics, the naysayers, and the gasoline lobby companies, the oil and gas lobby companies. It's happening much faster than they had thought it would, and it's very worrying. This is massive disruption, far bigger disruption than many other disruptions we've seen over the last 100 years, because the automotive industry is the biggest industry when it comes to wealth generation in the world. Electric says that California has reached 1.5 million fully electric vehicle sales 2 years ahead of its planned 2025 target for the sales milestone. 2 years ahead of its planned 2025 target for the sales milestone, according to the California Energy Commission. With EV demand soaring, California is not the first place to reach its EV sales growth early, and it won't be the last. Companies like Volvo believe that by 2026, this game will be over because EVs by then will be either on par or cheaper than internal combustion engine vehicles. The 2025 target was originally set way back in 2012 by then Governor Jerry Brown. At the time, there was only one electric vehicle for sale in California, the Nissan Leaf, with the Tesla Model S coming out later that year. The Tesla Roadster had previously been for sale from 2008 to 2011, though Tesla still had a few vehicles in inventory at the time. But realistically, batteries back then were very, very expensive compared to today. Cells and packs and the entire car itself, it's actually a miracle the Nissan Leaf even existed at the price that it cost, even though it wasn't that good because, battery degradation meant that the batteries would die quickly. At the time, the number of electric vehicles in California numbered in the thousands, nearly all of which had been sold in the preceding year, which was 2011. An increase of 3 orders of magnitude seemed unrealistic. The media, the news, said it wouldn't happen. They said it was a joke, but turns out it happened much sooner than the governor said it would. And yet, many of California's environmental targets and its EV goals have been reached early. California's EV market share for new cars so far this year is 21%. That's the highest in the United States. It's way above many other states, which are in the single digits. You're talking 1, 2, or 3% in numerous states around the United States. California's EV market share for new cars so far this year is truly a remarkable percentage, even compared to many European countries. This represents 40% of all zero-emissions vehicles sold in the US. Basically, California is like Tesla. We have Tesla and California to thank for the current percentage of EVs, or the current massive number of EVs being sold in the US. 4 out of every 10 EVs sold in America is sold in California. And there's nothing stopping people outside of California from buying a Tesla right now in particular. Considering they're so well priced, they should be selling really, really well. Now, while this sounds like a lot that 4 out of every 10 is sold in California, it's actually less than previous years. In previous years, that number was 50% or more, meaning 5 out of 10 or sometimes 6 out of 10 EVs sold across North America were sold in California. To give you some context on this, 5.6% of sales in the United States in 2022 were fully electric. But that includes California's numbers. So it's closer to 4% without California. As of the end of the first quarter 2023, California now has 1,523,966 total electric vehicle sales, with more than 1 million of those being fully electric and the remainder plug-in hybrids. However, for some bizarre reason, in that count, there's a few fuel cell cars, as in hydrogen-powered cars, even though they barely sell. And I don't see how you can consider them clean when they actually use hydrogen, which doesn't come from anything clean. In Q1, a total of 124,000 EVs was sold in California, meaning California is on track to sell well over 500,000 EVs this year alone. The milestone has been aided by a total of $2 billion in zero-emission vehicle incentives distributed by the state over the years. That said, this is small in comparison to the estimated $650 billion in explicit and implicit subsidies that fossil fuels get every year in the US as a whole. $2 billion is peanuts. It's absolutely nothing. When you think about it, the tax money they would have taken in from car companies selling these EVs probably would have already eclipsed that number, especially, say, Tesla. Tesla are making a lot of electric cars in Fremont. They would have easily paid that in taxes several times. California's early achievement echoes that of Norway, says Electric, which targeted an end to gas car sales in 2025, but is almost already there this year. I mean, now we're already seeing around 85% of all cars sold in Norway as fully electric. However, internal combustion powered vehicles, fully internal combustion powered vehicles, represent only 7% of sales in Norway. How long do you guys think that it will be before we hit that figure in California? I'm going to go with around 2028. 2028, we're going to see a period where almost no one will be buying anything but an EV in California. There's several reasons for that. And obviously, if you subscribe to the channel, I bring up several videos and facts and things to support that case. Many people think that I'm understating it. They think this is going to happen quicker than what I say. Maybe it's possible. Sales of internal combustion or gasoline-powered vehicles are so rare in Norway that some companies have had to hastily pull their gas cars from the market. Hyundai gave only a few days' notice before it stopped selling internal combustion engine cars, period. I mean, not that anyone cared because no one was buying them anyway. In China, despite a slow start, consumers are rapidly buying EVs. The country's EV share has risen very, very quickly, especially for a country that is still a developing country. It's still, a fair amount of poverty, still a very, very small percentage of the Chinese actually buying expensive cars. However, in China, because of rapid development of technology and massive competition, the price of EVs is much cheaper than anywhere else in the world, and therefore, EV adoption has risen rapidly. Now, Toyota's CEO, its new CEO, the one who's been put in charge of the train wreck, he said that Toyota is definitely in a bit of trouble in China. And China's extremely important. I mean, it's the biggest car market in the world. 27 million cars worldwide are sold there every single year, which represents nearly 1/3 of all cars sold worldwide. But automakers such as General Motors, Volkswagen and Toyota are seeing their sales slow rapidly in China. Why? Because they don't really produce many compelling EVs. California Governor Gavin Newsom announced a planned 2035 ban on internal combustion engine vehicles back in 2020. The ban was finalized last year, keeping the same 2035 target, though loosening it slightly to allow some plug-in hybrids. The reason being, there was a lot of angry people. Now, a lot of people are saying California's turning to poo. It's a terrible place to live. This is one of the reasons they're banning internal combustion engine cars in 2035. If you want to buy an internal combustion engine in 2035, a vehicle powered by that, you'd have to be crazy. Why would you? I mean, look at the technology we're seeing coming out this year. It's mind-blowing. 500 watts per kilo energy density. I mean, you're going to be looking at pickup trucks in 2035 with a range of 1,000 miles with reasonably sized battery packs. The technology is clearly so much more advanced than people realize because they're simply not following the finer details. However, last week, the EPA, the Environmental Protection Agency in the US, announced new emissions rules. This could result in 67% of new car sales being electric in the US by 2032. Without California, the United States would probably not. In fact, definitely not be in the position that it's in now. So while there is a lot of criticism of California, we have to give credit where credit is due, and massive credit is due to Californians. They have been the driving force behind the electrification of America. And that means America won't be lost when it comes to manufacturing, as was feared by myself and many others last year. Before the IRA occurred, manufacturing was dying in the US. Now, as a result, more than 200 new factories have been planned across the US, and manufacturing has had a massive revival. That comes down to the electric car. Without electric car adoption and production in the US, the economy would have stagnated and shrunk in the way that Japan's is about to. Japan is in big trouble. The US has fortunately managed to save itself at the final hour. But without California, none of that would have been possible. That's my take. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Thank you for watching.